Welcome, neighbor. Won't you be my neighbor? What I got for you today, pre-calculus, is warm-up number 3. Find the x-intercepts of y equals x squared minus 4x minus 21. So what you're going to do, and here is a hint, you are going to factor. Yes, it's the dreadful F word, factoring. So remember that x-intercepts has a y that is equal to 0. And the reason they have a y that is equal to 0 is, for instance, if I have a parabola right there, I got an x-intercept right here. I got an x-intercept right here. My y value, it's at a height of 0, and it's at a height of 0. So for my x-intercept, your y is equal to 0. So, do-do-do-do-do-do. Banana, do-do-do-do. Banana, do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. X squared minus 4x minus 21 is equal to 0 because remember, y is equal to 0. So now, what I do, if you guys have learned it, it's called the magic x. And it's pretty simple. Make my x, boom. Now, I do it this way. I could be wrong, but so negative 21, negative 4. I need to have two numbers that multiply to give me negative 21 and add together to give me negative 4. Negative 7, negative 3. Positive 3. Mistake. So sorry. Positive 3. So negative 7 times 3 is negative 21. Negative 7 times 3, negative 4. So what I've got, boom, 0 equals x minus 7 times the quantity of x plus 3. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this up. Yay. So x minus 7 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. And solve for x. So x equals 7. And x equals negative 3. Now that I have that, I know that my zeros, or shall I say my roots, or my x-intercepts, whatever you like, they're going to be negative 3, comma 0, and the point 7, comma 0. I've cleansed the demon. So for this one, you need to find the x-intercepts of the function f of x equals 3x squared plus 12x plus 9. Same process. You are going to factor. Because x-intercept, the y value is 0. And this basically stands for the y value. So I'm going to plug in 0 equals 3x squared plus 12x plus 9. Everything's divisible by 3. So I'm going to take and divide the whole thing by 3. I'm going to pull out the 3. So 0 is equal to 3 times the quantity. And you got to ask yourself, here, I'll put the parentheses a little bit out there. 3 times the quantity. 3 times what gives me 3x squared? That's x squared. 3 times what gives me 12x? And that's 4x. And then 3 times what gives me 9? Well, that's 3. And now I'm going to use the magic x. All right there. I'm going to put 3. I'm going to put 4. And now I ask myself, what times what gives me 3? And what times what? adds up to 4? Well, 1 times 3 is 3. 1 plus 3 is 4. So 0 equals 3 times the quantity of x plus 1 times x plus 3. And now I'm going to do exactly what I did. Do exactly what you did before, which is split it up. And I'm just going to pair that off for right now. First off, 0 equals 3. What? Yeah, don't even worry about that. Okay? You factored it out. Don't worry about that. What you need to worry about is x plus 1 equals 0. X plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 1 from both sides. Minus 1, minus 1. X equals negative 1. Minus 3, minus 3. X equals negative 3.
I've cleansed the demon.
So what we're going to cover today, this is our warm-up. What we are going to cover today is finding the slope of a line in anything dealing pretty much with slope and equations. So it's linear equations in 2 variables. Now, I have an equation right here that will get you the slope of the line. We'll talk more about it right now, but almost every single book writes it as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. M just represents the slope of a line. That's what M does. So M represents the slope. Now, one thing I want you to understand is 2 special graphs right now. We have what's called a horizontal line. Yeah, I was going to say vertical. Yeah. And we got verticals right here. So again, horizontal line, vertical line. Now, for a horizontal line, our slope for every horizontal line is going to be 0. I'm going to show you why. It's pretty simple. You just plug it in to this equation here. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So M equals, now I tell you guys all the time, label your points. I'm going to do it too. x1, x2, x1, we'll try that again. y1. x2, y2. So I have, and I accidentally clicked the wrong color. Wow, I'm batting 1,000 today. So I have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what I'm going to do, and I say it all the time, plug it in from S.C. Johnson, a family company. So I got 2 minus 2. And I have 2 minus, oops, I'll put that in way too soon. Sitting there reading ahead, trying to do that. 2 minus negative 1. So 2 minus 2, well, that gives me 0. Minus a negative 1, that means plus 1. So that's 2 plus 1. That's 3. Now, anything that goes into 0 is 0. Because 3 can't go into 0. 3 goes into 0 0 times. How many times can you stuff 3 into nothing? Well, you can't. So there you go. Your slope for a vertical line is always going to be 0. And it doesn't matter where the vertical line is. Your slope is always 0 because the slope describes the slant, the incline, or the decline of the line. Now, next, you've got slope here is undefined for a vertical line, which that you can find out as well. And you find out by plugging in. So you have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'm going to label my points. I'm going to say this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. It doesn't matter how you label your points, just label your points. And now, plug it in for Messi Johnson, a family company. So 1 minus 4. So I got 1 minus 4. And right here, I've got 3 minus 3. So 1 minus 4, hey, that gives me negative 3. And 3 minus 3, that gives me 0.
Oh my God.
Here's your problem. You can't divide by 0. You divide by 0, the universe implodes. You divide by 0, cats start sleeping with dogs. You divide by 0, everything you hold sacred in life is destroyed. Okay? Don't divide by 0. So that being the case, what it becomes is UND, undefined. Okay? So any vertical line, these are undefined slopes. Okay? And that's the idea with the slope of special lines, vertical and horizontals. Now, let's look at the equation of a slope. You're going to see this in the book where it says m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, which is correct and great. But did you guys know that this is correct too? y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. That's correct. You can do that. It is allowed. So, frankly, I actually like this one better that I just put down. Because for me, when I'm counting, I start with 1 and then I go to 2. It's just me. But every single textbook I've seen always has the equation looking like this. Now, I'm going to show you something that it cannot be. Okay, this is where students make a mistake. You cannot do it this way. y2 minus y1 over x1 minus x2. You can't do it like that. Here's the thing I want you guys to know. If it starts with the y2 at the top, then it needs to start with an x2 at the bottom. Or if it starts with the y1 at the top, then it needs to start with an x1 at the bottom. But you may not start it with a y2 here and start it with an x1 there. Okay? That's a no bueno. All right? So, next thing I want to talk about, just really quick, what a positive slope looks like. Now, a positive slope is a line that looks like that. A positive slope, as you go farther to the right, it is going to go up. Or, if you go farther to the left, it is going to go down. Now, if it has a negative slope, that's a negative slope right there, which means as you go farther to the right, you're going to go down. Or as you go farther to the left, you're going to go up. That's the difference between a positive slope and a negative slope. Another thing that I teach my students is if I have the slope m, just going back to the previous slide, if I have my slope m positive, here's my fraction, my slope, top and bottom. Positive number goes up, negative number, you move down. My computer's thinking. Oh, it's done thinking. Or positive number, you go to the right. Negative number, you go to the left. So for instance, if I have the equation y equals 1/2 x, negative 1/2 x. Well, I have my y-intercept is 0. And now if I want to figure out which way do I go with the slope, I'm going to go negative 1's at the top, so I'm going to go down 1. And it's a positive 2 in the bottom, I'm going to go right 2. So down 1, boom, right 2, boom, boom. Boom, down 1, boom, boom. Right there. So that is my line. All right, so let's actually do some problems. First problem we got. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points 3, -2, and -5, 3. So I'm going to say m equals y2 minus y1. We'll do it the way the book does it. Over x2 minus x1. On the next problem, we're going to switch it up. And label my points. So I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. So 3 minus -2, and that's all over -5 minus 3. And I'm going to take and plug that in. Or no, well, no, I did plug it in. I'm going to evaluate it. Sorry. So minus a minus is a plus. So I got 3 plus 2. And -5 minus 3, -8. So that's going to give me 5/8. I'm just going to pull that negative out. Bada bing. So, and I'm actually going to show you right now that it doesn't matter how you do it. What if I did it this way? M equals y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So I'm going to use the same values, x1, y1, x2, y2, and I'm just doing this to show you it's exactly the same. So I have y1 minus y2. So I got -2 minus 3 over x1, which is 3, minus -5. And that's going to give me -2 minus 3 is -5. And that's a 5. That's a really lousy 5. Forgive me for my 5s. So -5. And now I'm going to do minus a minus is a plus. So that's 3 plus 5. Well, that becomes -5/8. Any questions? So moving right along. I don't even know what I did here. There we go. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points -6, 2, -6, 7. So again, first off, I can look at that and I'm like, wait a second. My x is -6. My x is -6. So if I graph that puppy, boom, I got -6, so it might be somewhere out here and then like up to, so like here. And then I got -6 and then it goes up here to, I don't know, 7, right there. And I connect those two, I can immediately tell it's a vertical line.
Oh my God.
We already know vertical lines, slope. Slope is undefined. Immediately you know that. But what if I didn't realize it was a vertical line? Well, you can calculate it. So I'm going to calculate it. Not a big deal. That's a fettuccine. So what you do, again, label your points. x1, y1, x2, y2. So m equals, and I'm just making this up, I'm going to choose the one that I like, y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. And I'm going to calculate it. Plug it in, plug it in. So 2 minus 7. And that's all over negative 6 minus negative 6. Woohoo, boo, boo. So 2 minus 7, negative 5. And again, that's a lousy 5 because I can't make 5s work very well on this computer. It's just me. I don't know. Negative 6 minus negative 6, so that's negative 6 plus 6. I'm just going to bring this down here. So I got negative 5 over 0. Undefined. Next one. So I have point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. You are going to use this when you have a point and you have a slope and they ask for the equation. Fancy how that works? Look at this. I got an example. You have a point and you have a slope. Goodness gracious. So what I'm going to do, first label everything because that's what I like doing. I label. I say m is 2. And I say my point, here's x1. And here's y1. And if they ask you for the equation of a line and they give you a point and a slope, you just plug it in, plug it in. From S.C. Johnson, a family company. Oh, by the way, I watch way too much television. It'll rot your brain. It will. So I have my points. Sorry, my point. Point slope form, which is y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. Plugging things in. I know m is 2. And I'll put it in a different color for you. 2. I know my y1 is negative 2. And I know my x1 is 1. And so everything else I'm just going to fill in. I have my y minus y1. y1's negative 2, so don't forget that minus. And I have x minus positive 1. Oh, and don't forget that equal sign too. Now, minus a minus is a plus. So I have y plus 2. I'm going to distribute. I'm going to take and distribute this 2 into everything. So once I have my y plus 2 equals 2 times x, 2x, 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2. And now, minus 2 on both sides. So I end up with, this cancels out. So y equals 2x minus 4. And that is the slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the point 1, negative 2 and has a slope of 2. Next, just switching it up a bit. What if they don't give you a slope? What if they just give you 2 points? Well, I taught you how to find the slope. I did. So all you gotta do, m equals y1 minus y2 all over x1 minus x2. And you're going to plug it in just like you would. Here's x1, here's y1, here's x2, and here's y2. So when I plug it in, I have negative 3 minus, I don't even know why I wanted to add that parentheses. I mean, I could. No reason to. Minus 1. And now I have negative 2 minus 6. So -2 minus 6. -8. -3 minus 1 is -4. My slope is 2. Now that I know m equals 2, my problem becomes just like the problem that I had previously, where they gave me a point, and in this case, they gave me 2 points. Well, pick a point. I'm going to pick this point, mostly because I've already labeled it x1, y1. I don't want to relabel it. And I have a slope. Point, slope, form. And you should know this by heart now. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Booyah. Plugging things in. I know my slope is 2. I know my x1 is -3. And I know my y1 is -2. Everything else, y minus, because remember, bring that minus down. 2 times the quantity of it didn't do it the way I wanted it to. I accidentally pressed this little thing right here, which makes it scroll down. And I'm not sure how to get it back up there, so we're just going to roll with it. So x minus, because bring that minus down, and you got your equal sign. So what I have, minus a minus is a plus, so it's y plus 2 equals 2 times the quantity minus a minus is a plus, x plus 3. You might be able to switch it like that. Boom, there you go. Got it back to normal. Okay. Distribute your 2. So what I have, y plus 2 equals 2 times x, 2x, plus 2 times 3, 6. And now, subtract 2 from both sides. Y equals 2x plus 4. Next problem. And before we get to problems, parallel lines have the same slope. And perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So this is what I'm saying. If I have parallel, so parallel lines, and if I have a line and I tell you the line has a slope of 1/3, then the line that is parallel is going to have the slope of 1/3. Why? Because they have the same slope. But if I have perpendicular lines and I have m is the slope of, I don't know, let's say it's 3/5. The perpendicular slope, or the slope of the line that's perpendicular, and by the way, that little upside down T, I got to finish it. That upside down T, that means perpendicular. And it's not an 11. These little 2 bars means parallel. So the slope of the line that's perpendicular to this one, it's going to be the opposite reciprocal. So the reciprocal is switch the fraction, top and bottom. So 5 goes into the top, 3 goes into the bottom. And when they say opposite, they basically mean change the sign. So if it's positive, make it negative. If it's negative, make it positive. So it's now going to be negative. That is the slope of the line that's perpendicular. Let's do another one. What if I give you a line and I say the slope is 3? Well, the slope of the line that's perpendicular, first off, I got to make it into a fraction. 3 over 1. So now the slope of the line that's perpendicular is going to be 1 over 3, but it's going to have a negative slope. So, last one I got. Find the slope-intercept form of the equations that pass through point 2, negative 1 and are A, parallel, and B, perpendicular to the line. Oh yeah, then graph all 3 lines. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take this and we are going to switch it to slope-intercept form. So basically solve for y. So let me rewrite it. 4x minus 2y equals 5. I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides, so I'm going to have negative 2y equals negative 4x plus 5. And now I'm going to take and divide everything by negative 2. So that's going to give me y equals 2x minus 2.5. Now, the reason I did this is so 1, I can plot it, makes it easier. And 2, I need to know that slope. So minus 2.5. So that's going to give me a y-intercept 1, 2, 2.5, boom, right there. And I'm going to go, when I'm graphing or plotting, it's positive, so I go up, and it's positive at the bottom, so I go to the right. So I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and then right 1, boom, right there. 1, 2, right 1, boom, right there. 1, 2, right 1, 1, 2, right 1. Now I only really need 3 lines, or sorry, 3 points to make a line. 1, 2, boom. But in this case, I plotted a lot more. I'm going to clean up some of my mess that I made. My little plot marks. So this right here is the line. Now, we want to graph the line that's parallel and also perpendicular. And they go through the point 2, negative 1. So I'm just going to put 2, negative 1. So 2, negative 1. That's my point, 2, negative 1. So let's do the parallel one first. And I can do it right here. Parallel. So I know that my slope is 2, and I know it goes through point 2, negative 1. Well, guess what? Point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m, x minus x1. I know what my m is. My m is 2. My x1 is also 2. I know what my y1 is. It's negative 1. And it's y minus. So what I have, y plus 1 is equal to, and I'm going to distribute, 2x minus 4. And I'm now going to minus 1 on both sides. So, and I'm just barely running out of room, so I'll skip a step. Y equals 2x minus 5. Okay, so my y-intercept's going to be at -5. And I'm going to go up 2, right 1. Notice it's the same slope. 2, 2. So up 2, right 1. Boom. Up 2, right 1. That's the point. Up 2, right 1. Boom. Up 2, right 1. Boom. Yes, the booms matter. Okay, so I got my parallel line. Last thing, I'm going to do my perpendicular line. Now, I need my perpendicular slope. It's got to be an opposite reciprocal of the other line. The other line has a slope of 2. So the reciprocal of 2 is 1/2, and opposite means it's negative. And now it's going to go through to -1. Again, point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. And plug it in. Y minus -1 equals -1/2 x minus 2. Minus a minus is a plus. And distribute the 1/2. So it's going to be -1/2 x minus, a negative times a negative is a positive. 1/2 times 2, well, that just becomes 1. And now, subtract 1 from both sides. Tell you what, there's no need to skip that step. I was going to, but nope. I'm changing my mind. -1, -1. So, y equals -1/2 x plus 0. But the reality is, plus 0, you don't even need to put it down. Sorry about that. Boom. So, I know my y-intercept is 0. And I'll put that in blue. My y-intercept is 0. And now I'm going to go, and way I graph, I take the negative and I assign it either to the top or to the bottom, and most of the time I assign it to the top. So it becomes -1 over 2, which means I go down 1, right 2. So down 1, right 2, I'm at the point. Down 1, right 2, down 1, right 2. Or I can go up 1, left 2. The opposite direction. Up 1, left 2. Up 1, left 2. There you go. And this, and I don't know if you'll see it, I'll put it in black. This line is perpendicular to the red, and actually it's perpendicular to the green. The reason being they both have the same slope, so it's got to be perpendicular. All right. That's it. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys have any questions, you can always ask me in class. Do your homework. All right. Take care, you guys. Peace.